Hello and welcome to the Sheriff's Roundup for the first quarter of 2016. I'm Sheriff Bill Brown, coming to you today from Department Number 2 of the Santa Barbara County Superior Court, located in the historic courthouse in downtown Santa Barbara. Courtrooms are areas where emotions run high, and they have to be protected at all times. There are 27 courtrooms located throughout Santa Barbara County, and the Sheriff's Office is responsible for keeping them safe. The role of a bailiff is to ensure the safety and security of everyone involved in a courtroom proceeding. Our bailiffs are highly trained, courteous, and able to handle a large number of personalities and dynamics which can change in an instant. Here's a look at what it takes to be a great bailiff.
At court services, you'll run into more felons in one day than you may run into a whole month out on patrol. On a high day, anywhere from 80 to 100 custodies here that we're moving all over the place. All right, good morning. Let's go ahead and get started. For the prelim calendar, we'll have Anthony helping out there, and then Lafferty will be going back and forth between 8 and 10. The supervisors here, each day we come in pretty early and we go over all the court rosters and we check for all the high-profile people. We want to know what kind of risk they're going to pose if we move them to a certain area. So that's something we do daily. And then from there we have felony days about 4 days out of the week, and they take priority over all the other movements. They can range from anywhere from 10 to 25 custodies. All right, be safe. Each deputy will go to their courtroom. Before they get started, they secure the courtroom, make sure nothing is left over that could be used as a weapon. Once they secure their courtroom, their day starts. Depending on what's going on in your courtroom, you just act and react accordingly.
Remain seated and come to order. Superior Court is again in session.
Mostly what the bailiff does is prevent things from escalating, and by their presence, by their calm demeanor, by their control over the courtroom, it really stops things from ever escalating.
I think you need a combination of strength and congeniality so that you can interact with people in a friendly manner but be able to take control of any situation that might arise on a moment's notice.
I like interacting with the public, with just people in general. I just want to show the public that we are approachable, we are friendly, we are human.
This is our Figueroa screening station. This is the first area of contact the public's going to have with us.
Sometimes people bring in items into court that are not allowed. Well, we had this come through. It's plastic. It didn't come through on the screener. It's a sharp device that's not allowed here in the courtroom, and so we confiscated it.
Being observant, that will be the number one thing you'd have to be at this station. We have 2 criminal courtrooms that are in the Anacapa building. There are some days when this street will be lined with buses. We have people who may have language barriers from Europe, may not speak English. We're trying to move them out of the way. We're dealing with protective custody type people. We're dealing with certain types of movements where we have to separate them from the normal general population. We've had incidents in the past where we've been moving people that were protective custody because they had become state witnesses, and we had to be very cautious. We couldn't move those guys in public. We had to use one of our black and whites to actually move them back and forth. Those are things we have to be concerned about. We don't know who's walking around the street, what their affiliations are, so we have to be very, very concerned. And again, we use that term a lot, observant, but it's really, really important when you're working here and you're moving custodies around.
I feel so fortunate that I can work in probably one of the most beautiful places in the country, but even more important than that, I get to work with some of the best people anywhere. With that team, and the team of the rest of the deputies down here, I am fortunate.
Everyone works together. It's a team effort. The judges that I've met over the years, it's just been very rewarding.
75 miles to the north of the historic Santa Barbara County Courthouse is the Santa Maria Court Complex, where the Sheriff's Office also provides security.
North County Courts is a little different than the South County. We have 4 court buildings that we're responsible for. In addition to providing security for the courts, we also have the Board of Supervisor meeting and our judges meeting. The part that works the best for us is having our criminal courts, Departments 6 through 9, directly over the jail compound, and having the elevator that goes up to each floor, and between those courtrooms we have holding cells. So the inmates are never brought out in public. They're met by the bailiffs at the elevator doors and brought into a holding cell, and then when their case is called, they're escorted from the cell out into the courtroom.
We want to make sure that we search the courtroom to make sure that there's nothing suspicious, and also up here in the front, the jury box, counsel table especially, because we're going to have custody sitting up here in the front, and we want to make sure the chairs are clear and underneath the table is clear. And then also the holding cells, we want to make sure that the holding cells, even though we do the search every day, we still want to do one in the morning just to make sure that nothing was left from the day before, or you don't know what may have happened over the night. There is no communicating with custodies at all, so if you know someone who's in custody, when you see that person, please do not try to wave, mouth words, or hold up signs for anyone who's in custody. I'll give a speech in the morning. I do it because I want people to know what to expect when they come to court, what I'm going to be doing, and it kind of eases their tension if they know an idea of what's going to happen in court.
Our bailiffs are phenomenal. They do a really good job holding down each department that they work in.
I enjoyed that we're interacting with people on a different level. We're kind of bridging that gap where we're more personable, we're more approachable. And I think that the majority of the bailiffs here that I've seen, that's where they're really good. Communicating, building rapport, building bonds with people, building a trust with people, that they understand we do have a job to do, yes, but at the same time we want to make sure we get the court business done.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Face the flag of our country, remembrance of the principles which stand Superior Court for the state of California and for the county of Santa Barbara is now in session with the Honorable John F. McGregor, Judge presiding. Please be seated and come to order. You have to be a good multitasker, and you have to be able to focus on many things. A lot of times we'll have defendants in the courtroom, we'll have a full courtroom of people, we have attorneys walking in and out of the courtroom all the time, and so you have to be aware of everything. And so it's one thing to stand up here and just watch the defendant, but really you have to keep an eye on the audience too, because sometimes you have people who don't like this person up here at the front because it's a victim or a family of a victim, and they want to do them harm. And so our job is to make sure that everyone is safe in court.
I've had the good fortune to have my bailiff, Deputy Federico Cortez, for 12 years. And it's not only that a bailiff's important for courtroom security, he is polite but direct with the defendants. I can do the same thing, and we can avoid courtroom difficulties.
We also have our treatment court. Treatment court involves drug court, our veterans court, DUI court, and mental health. It's away from the compound. So that entails a transport with deputies going to the compound and walking them through the public courtyard, which is right out here, and to Department 3.
You have to have the bailiff that, first of all, understands this population of people, because remember, we have people that have substance abuse issues and mental health issues. And so they have to know how to deal with that population. And you even see the trust that the clients in this court end up having with the bailiffs. I've always had tremendous respect for the sheriffs, but certainly in the treatment courts, it's a critical role that our bailiff plays.
Nobody really enjoys coming to court, so if you can take and break down that wall, that barrier, just by being approachable and communicating and letting them know that you're here to help with the process, that goes a long way.
Thank you to all of our hardworking sheriff's deputy bailiffs for all you do to keep our courtrooms safe and running smoothly. We also want to thank our retired extra help bailiffs who make it possible to meet our staffing needs. In the near future, the Sheriff's Office will be responsible for providing courtroom security in what could be one of the largest and most challenging trials in Santa Barbara County's history. In the early morning hours of March 3rd, the Sheriff's Office assisted the Santa Maria Police Department and other allied agencies in serving search and arrest warrants for more than 16 MS-13 transnational gang members. Operation Matador was initiated in response to the unprecedented number of gang-related shootings and homicides in Santa Maria this past year. The operation was put into motion after a 4-month-long, highly skilled investigation by the Santa Maria Police Department. It required coordinated arrest warrants being served simultaneously in the Santa Maria area, in other areas of California, and even out of state. The fact that an operation of this magnitude was carried out with such precision and efficiency is a testament to the teamwork and professionalism of everyone involved. Congratulations to everyone who was a part of helping make Santa Maria a safer community. Another successful multi-agency operation the Sheriff's Office was involved with was an effort to remove firearms from persons in Santa Barbara County who are legally barred from possessing them. The Department of Justice and the Sheriff's Office coordinated a 2-day sweep across the county to locate people in the armed and prohibited persons system. 10 arrests were made and a total of 83 firearms, more than 6,000 rounds of ammunition, and 52 ammunition magazines were seized. 3 of the firearms were assault weapons. Our county experienced a great tragedy in March with the brutal murders of the Hahn family. On Wednesday, March 23rd, 2016, at approximately 5:30 p.m., Sheriff's Dispatch received a call to check on the welfare of Dr. Henry Hahn at 4640 Green Hill Way in the unincorporated Goleta area. When deputies entered and searched through the residence, they discovered the bodies of 3 deceased persons in the garage. They were wrapped in plastic and duct taped. The victims were identified as 57-year-old Dr. Waidong Henry Hahn, his 27-year-old wife, Wahi Yu, also known as Jenny, and their 5-year-old daughter, Emily. All of them had suffered fatal gunshot wounds. The Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division launched an intensive and comprehensive investigation. Within 32 hours, detectives had a suspect in custody. The suspect was identified as 27-year-old Pierre Haupsch, who was recently involved in a business transaction with Dr. Hahn. Information was soon developed that Haupsch was in the Oceanside area. Sheriff's detectives, with the assistance of the Oceanside Police Department, followed him to a gas station near Oceanside, where he was taken into custody at gunpoint without incident. Haupsch was transported to the Santa Barbara County Jail and was subsequently charged with the Hahn family murders. This tragic case was a terrible blow to the Santa Barbara area and to the medical community at large. Dr. Hahn had an extensive patient network and was well known and respected in his field of herbal and Western medicine. Some exceptional work by our Criminal Investigations Division detectives resulted in the suspect in this complex case being arrested very rapidly. We should all be extremely proud of their extraordinary efforts to take a diabolical killer off the streets and seek justice for the Hahn family. DNA evidence led to the arrest of 2 suspects wanted for 2 separate sexual assaults in Santa Barbara County. The first one was a disturbing crime that had gone unsolved for 2 years. The Sheriff's Office and Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team assisted the UCSB Police Department with investigating the violent sexual assault of a UCSB co-ed by several suspects in February of 2014. This February, DNA evidence from the attack was linked to a suspect who had been arrested for an unrelated misdemeanor crime in Alameda County. Former UCSB student Daniel Chen was subsequently arrested by UCSB police officers and brought to Santa Barbara County to stand trial. Just 1 week later, there was another DNA match for a suspect who sexually assaulted a masseuse at a massage parlor in Goleta. The Department of Justice Crime Lab ran DNA evidence from the crime, which matched 22-year-old Saul Hernandez Chavez, whose DNA was in the criminal justice DNA system. Sheriff's detectives arrested Hernandez Chavez at his home in Santa Barbara, and he has since been charged with rape. We're pleased that the close partnership that the Sheriff's Office has with the DOJ Crime Lab allows us to bring suspects in cases like these to justice. A former Santa Barbara County inmate who served 30 years in state prison returned to the Santa Barbara County Jail in February, but this time for a very different reason. In a rare opportunity, Jon Picarello, spoke to inmates at the Santa Barbara County Jail to show them a real-life example of how you can turn your life around, even after living a life of crime.
I met Sheriff Brown at a Christmas function from Community Solutions, Inc. in Santa Maria, which is an agency that I went through, and that has definitely saved my life. I tried to explain to him that it's difficult. I spent 30 years of my life in prison, and I really don't have much as a resume. I'm trying to get into this field where I can reach people like me. And he looked at me and he was like, that's not a problem, we'll make it happen. You don't need to sell out to get out of prison. You don't need to sell out your beliefs. The question is that you need to start asking yourselves, why are you doing what you're doing? I see so much of myself in all of them at different phases in my life. I know what's going on in their head. And I've realized that there are a lot of people out here that are willing to help. You just have to be willing to get to them, and you have to be able to show them that you really want it, that you're just not looking for a handout. You know, in prison we used to say, I am not looking for a handout, I'm looking for a hand up. And I know the sheriff gave me a hand up.
We thank Jon Picarello for choosing to live a crime-free life and for his willingness to share his experiences. He made a positive impact on a most captive audience. You see it everywhere you go, people texting or talking on their cell phones while driving. While it's very common to see, distracted driving is very dangerous and responsible for deaths and injuries every day across our nation. Here is Senior Deputy Jeff Farmer with this edition of Focus on Safety.
This quarter's focus on safety is distracted driving awareness. In 2015 in California, 67 people died from distracted driving. Driving is a divided attention task. Whether you're steering, adjusting your speed, you're watching for other vehicles or pedestrians, we have a lot we have to do while we're driving. In the city of Goleta, 20% of all of our citations issued were for cell phone violations. This just shows us that people are still driving around, talking on their cell phones and texting when they need to be focusing on the roadway. One aspect of distracted driving is cell phone use. Vehicle code specifically covers talking on your cell phone without a hands-free device and texting. Hands-free devices are very inexpensive, especially compared to how much the citation is that you could receive. Typically in Santa Barbara County, it's in the range of about $170. Another section relating to cell phones is texting. Whether you're reading or you're writing sending texts is a violation. A good example of a traffic collision involving texting occurred December 25th, 2007. A gentleman was driving, sending a text to his family telling him that he's going to be late for the family gathering. He then misses a curve, goes off the road, launches his vehicle, and when it comes down onto the road, it breaks his front axle, both tires break off. This collision could have been a Christmas tragedy, but luckily nobody was injured. It's just another reminder that we need to not be distracted while we're driving.
I stopped you because I noticed you were texting while you were driving. Can I see your license, registration, and insurance, please?
April is the National Distracted Driving Awareness Month. So remember, while you're driving, minimize your distractions, whether it's reading, talking on a cell phone, eating, drinking, shaving, brushing your teeth, whatever it is, focus mainly on your goal of driving safely.
Thank you, Senior Deputy Farmer, for those important safety tips. The Sheriff's Office prides itself on not only keeping our deputies updated with quarterly training, but also on the mental and physical preparation they must go through before they ever get their badge. Here is Senior Deputy John Langhenning with a look at what it takes to go through the pre-academy and the police academy.
1, 2, 3, 2! 1, 2, 3, 3! 1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Sir, 7, sir! Sir, 8, sir! Sir, 9!
Like this! All the way to Santa Barbara! Like this!
So yes, sir. Yeah. So yes, sir. Okay.
The Allen Hancock Law Enforcement Academy is a 21-week intense academy of lecture, instruction, practical application, physical agility, and stress, of course, which is very important in this career. The recruit training officers, or TAC officers as they're known as, are responsible for the daily activities of the recruits, ensuring that they're keeping up with their time. We do 9 and 8-hour days here, and it's full days. A lot of information going out and a lot of accountability for that instruction which is being given to the recruits at that time during the day. We usually start off with morning colors. We'll get the colors up, the American flag, California flag, and it's all done in a military fashion. So drill and ceremony is very important here at the Academy as well. Typically in the morning we'll hold a uniform inspection after the colors go up, making sure the uniforms are proper and that all the recruits are properly groomed as required by the policies of the Academy. Typically after that we'll go into instruction in the classroom. It's anywhere from domestic violence training to general criminal statutes, crimes against persons, crimes against property, you name it, the gamut's there. California Penal Code, California Vehicle Code, Health and Safety Codes, government codes, all of them. Everything that they're going to be expected to enforce once they get out. Recruit training officers will quiz them on what we call recitation, on what they've learned in the classroom, so they're accountable for everything that they've learned as soon as they're taught it.
You won't use those every day in your career, I guarantee you. Vandalism, sir. Wait. Sir, vandalism, sir, misdemeanor. Which one? D1 or D28? Last. Sir, I cannot recall at this time, sir. Better start studying, folks. All right. Drop A, 12500A, CBC.
Also throughout the day, the RTOs are responsible for setting up scenarios so that these recruits are able to put into practical app what they've learned in the class, such as criminal laws, laws of arrest, recognize the elements of crimes, and be able to act upon them as if they were out on the FTO program.
Did he use his fist or did he have an object in his hand?
So was that a closed fist? There you go. Closed fist or open hand?
It was kind of a backhand.
Uh-oh.
Must be the back of his hand.
That's important, right, folks?
Yes, sir.
Why?
If it goes to court and you wrote that he came around and punched him in the face, but he actually backhanded him in the face, you're going to get chewed up pretty bad by the defense attorney. Why? Because it's not what happened.
Let them run through the scenario, have the rest of the class start asking the questions that should have been asked, and just kind of, it gives me a feel on where the class is overall as far as how they're doing with their lectures. Is it sinking in? Are they going to be able to apply it? Usually at the end of the day after their lectures, they'll go right into PT. PT is usually 3 to 4 times a week, and it's not easy stuff. It's making sure that they're physically ready for hitting the streets and being able to perform their duties safely and to be able to protect the public.
Don't know the next verse to sing it like this. Don't know the next verse to sing it like this. When my granny was 97. When my granny was 97. She was doing PT all the way to heaven.
Honor, duty, integrity, discipline, and compassion. Those things we impress on these kids when they first get into the academy, and we write them hard about that. Those are the core values, not only of this academy, but law enforcement in general. And it's something that we impress on them from day one. And usually I like to add into that sacrifice, because sacrifice is really needed. Family time, alone time, you give all that up to make it through this academy. Training here is very intense, and it's not just from a stress point of view, just from the amount of instruction that they get in 20 weeks. There's a lot that comes onto them from all these different lectures that they get in regards to penal codes and how to handle calls and patrol techniques and evac training and ARCON training. It's a lot that comes on them every day, and they have to stay up with it. It's a very rigorous schedule, but one that's very important that we strive to keep them on, and that's part of my duty as well as an RTO, is to ensure that we're getting good quality recruits out of the academy.
The group shown in this academy will graduate in June. We look forward to introducing them to you on the next roundup. We also want to introduce some new faces at the Sheriff's Office. In February, we welcomed Thomas Rauch and Gary Siegel as lateral Sheriff's deputies. On the custody side, we welcomed custody deputies Jesus Lopez and Travis Taylor. We also hired Rebecca Wright as a new dispatcher. While we're adding this new talent to our Sheriff's Office family, we also said goodbye to some great employees who moved on to enjoy the next chapter of their lives. Commander Eric Koopmans retired after 32 years of service to the Sheriff's Office. In March, he was presented with a retirement resolution at the County Board of Supervisors. Thanks, Eric, for all you have done for the betterment of the Sheriff's Office and the public safety mission over the years. You will be missed. We will also miss and want to thank Sergeant Martin Eberling, who retired after almost 40 years of service, and Custody Lieutenant Lisa Bondietti, who retired after 24 years of service. Thanks to both of you for your extraordinary dedication to our agency and to the citizens of Santa Barbara County. We owe a great debt of gratitude to Administrative Office professionals Diane Klein and Jackie Green, who both recently retired. Both of these women played a huge role in keeping the Sheriff's Office running smoothly and efficiently. We wish them both much happiness in well-deserved retirements. Congratulations also go to Christy Nelson and Elise Ponce, who were both promoted to Senior Administrative Office professional positions and were recognized at a large promotional ceremony. The ceremony was held at the Sheriff's Training Bureau and acknowledged a group of employees who are advancing in their careers after rigorous and competitive promotional testing processes. Lieutenant Craig Bonner, a 22-year veteran of the department, was promoted to Commander of North County Operations. Lieutenant Kelly Moore was promoted to Commander of South County Operations. Christopher Gottschall, John Maxwell, Jeffrey McDonald, Joe Schmidt, and Greg Sorensen were all promoted to Sheriff's Sergeant positions. Dulcie Brooks and Michael Shannon were promoted to Custody Sergeant positions. Congratulations also go to Sergeant Eddie Schway, who was promoted to Lieutenant. Ruben Cintron was also promoted to Lieutenant and will take over command of the Isla Vista Foot Patrol Station in June, when Lieutenant Rob Plastino leaves to become the new Sheriff's Special Projects and Coroners Bureau Lieutenant. Thank you, Lieutenant Plastino, for the positive difference you have made during your 3 years in Isla Vista. We know that Lieutenant Cintron will carry on with the momentum that you helped create. Kevin Huddle, formerly a sergeant assigned to criminal investigations, was also promoted to lieutenant and is Goleta's new Chief of Police Services. A huge thank you goes to Lieutenant Butch Arnaldi, who acted as the Chief of Police Services in Goleta for the past 5 years and is now moving on to work as a criminal investigations lieutenant. Goleta City Council members had the opportunity to publicly thank Butch for his years of service at his last council meeting. Congratulations are also extended to Custody Lieutenant Kenneth Callahan and Custody Sergeant William Wolf, who were also recently promoted. Our testing processes are time-consuming, competitive, and comprehensive. We owe a great deal of gratitude to our incredible, hard-working human resources team for developing and implementing these challenging procedures. The Sheriff's Office continues to have Coffee with a Cop events throughout the county as a way to communicate with residents in a relaxed and casual setting. One was recently held in Carpinteria at the Lucky Llama, the same location of our first ever Coffee with a Cop in 2013. Coffee with a Cop events were also held at 6 Degrees Coffee House and Eatery in Orchid, and another at the new Starbucks in Buellton. At all of these coffee gatherings, deputies enjoyed meeting and talking with residents who live in their patrol areas. Some came with concerns, and others just to say hello and thank you, which is always appreciated. And finally, Sheriff's Office employees once again took the plunge to help raise money for Special Olympics. A dozen employees from the Deputy Sheriff's Association formed a team and braved the chilly waters of the Pacific Ocean at Ledbetter Beach in Santa Barbara to raise money for Special Olympics.
The whole purpose behind giving funds to Special Olympics and raising money for them is so the athletes have the ability to participate in organized events, to be able to travel. As I got more involved in the Special Olympics program, it really resonated with me that these folks really need our assistance.
Thanks to everyone who participated. Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Sheriff's Roundup. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting us as we protect your safety.